I'm an extrovert.
And I am an introvert.
So what does that mean for us at sea? It affects us both very differently in our lives, in our social lives, just regular work lives, but also very much in our cruising lives.
For me, being an introvert, that means that I like small groups of one person or less. I greatly enjoy being alone. Like that's to me, that's very refreshing. Large groups, not so much.
An extrovert is just the opposite. I actually thrive when I'm surrounded by a lot of people, and I gain energy off of a crowd. And I get happy when I'm surrounded by friends or even new acquaintances. I love meeting new people. It just gives me joy and happiness.
Whereas I get worn out. Like I'm tired, I need a break after a while, and I'll frequently go for a walk, which is my way of just getting out of there for a while, decompressing, relaxing, and then I go back in.
Before we set off on this cruising adventure, for 2 years it's been so far, I was an art teacher, and a teacher really needs to be an extrovert. It's the perfect place for an extrovert to be. You get to interact with people all day, kids, adults, what have you, and especially as an art teacher, I do a lot of talking to my students. I love going out. I have a lot of friends, and it really has shaped my life thus far.
Me being an introvert before we went cruising, I'm a dentist, which is actually really good for introverts because you're in a small room with an assistant that you know very well, so it's not a stranger, and one strange person that you can always make stop talking by just putting things in their mouth. And drilling and stuff, and then they stop talking.
As you might imagine, it was very difficult for me to choose a life that involved long periods of time, such as the one we're in right now, which has been 2 weeks so far, without any human contact except for my husband and my own thoughts, which are the scariest things. I think that's true of a lot of extroverts, is that being left alone with your own thoughts can be a really scary thing, and it's nice to have other people as sounding boards or just distractions. And you don't have that here. You have one person, and we spend a lot of time talking, but we also spend a lot of time just in silence, and it's very comfortable silence because we know each other very well and we're very comfortable, but it can be really exacerbating for someone like me who enjoys constant communication to just not have that. So how do I fill my time? I read a lot of books. I play Nintendo Switch. I do a lot of writing, but it's hard. It's a really big challenge to be out here with no one else around me, and just the knowledge that there are hundreds of miles between me and the next person. It can be a little bit difficult to comprehend and difficult to deal with.
Now for me, that is just absolute paradise. I haven't had to deal with another person in 2 weeks. We're currently 300 miles from the closest point of land, so like no one's out here to bother me. It's just me. I have Maddie, my wife, who I chose to be out here with, and that's it. So it's really great for me. Like, I've been loving it. And like when we crossed the Atlantic, we were a lot longer than this, and I was fine. When we got to land, I was actually a little hesitant about going to shore and actually interacting with people because I'd been alone so long that I didn't really want to jump back in yet. So that's been the hard part for me, is actually not the alone time out at sea, but actually the reintegrating into society. Thankfully I have Maddie, who's an extrovert, who forces me back into society.
There are two parts of the cruising lifestyle. There's the part where you're actually at sea, and then there's the part where you're on land, and you are bolstered up by this community of sailors who embrace you and love to throw parties and interact and share stories. And it's the best thing for me to come into a port with all new people that we've never met before. And suddenly, everybody is just friends. Because we all have this huge thing in common. We're part of this cruising community. We sail. We have this very distinct lifestyle that brings us all together in a very special way. And so my favorite part of cruising is actually arriving at these places and interacting with locals in a new country and experiencing culture through the people and the food. But it's interesting because Herby and I, with our very different personalities, we both gain from very different aspects of this cruising life.
You might be wondering, like, how do I deal with the groups and crowds and stuff when we actually get somewhere? So, the easy way to spot an introvert is they're that weird, awkward person standing in a corner just, like, hating everything about what's happening right now. Like, they really don't want to be there, and it's very obvious. So, I've always thought, like, just that they're the weird, odd one. And since they're there for so long, like, they just drag out the pain of being there so long. And I used to always notice that you'd see some, like, showboat person come in, do a nice big speech, and then they're out of there. And that was it. So, like, the way I get through these things is go in, just be, like, super extroverty-ish for just a little bit of time. You do that, and then you can peace out and you're gone. You don't have to go back. Like, you did your thing. So, like, that's been my way of, like, getting through situations where, like, you have to, you know, speak in public or, you know, meet a whole bunch of people. It's like, just put on a face for a short amount of time, and then you can get through it, and then you can get out of there, and then you can relax and just not be there anymore. So that's been my my trick to not appearing as that weirdo in the corner that's nervous and scared about being in a huge group.
Now, one thing that I have found really interesting in the past 2 years is the way that both Herby and I have adapted to our situation. So, considering the fact that he is such an introvert and I am such an extrovert, one might think that this kind of lifestyle would be nearly impossible, but I have found peace in the moments when I am completely alone in ways that I didn't think I would before, and it's inspired thoughts that I didn't think I had, or knowledge that I didn't think I could obtain just by being so alone and becoming more and more comfortable with that idea. It was really, really hard at first. The first crossing, I was really struggling. But with this passage, I've become more confident in my own ability to be by myself. And so that's really helped me along, and I think that I can only improve in that way. I'm still not as happy as I could be with a bunch of other people, but I've grown more content with our situation out here alone, knowing that it will come to an end, and when it does, it will have all been so worth it. And I think that Herby's gone through some changes as well in that respect.
So originally, my huge plan, actually, like, to go cruising in general, was just to go out to sea and kind of skip all the destinations. Just be out in the ocean alone for like a month and a half, then wherever I'm near, drift into that shore, reprovision, get back out to sea. Like, the absolute hermit life, if you want to put it that way. But now, like, especially with Maddie, like, she's kind of shown me the joys of, like, getting to know people, getting to know places. So when we get places, like, I do actually look forward to trying new things, meeting new people, just all that situation. And I've actually taken it upon myself to learn the language of these countries because, so 2 reasons. So one, learning the language increases your cultural education. You can actually communicate with these people and figure out, you know, what's going on, what the plan is, what the deal is. And the other reason is, if you can speak their language, the interaction time can be shorter because you can get your point across quickly. It's not charades and hand signs and everything. It's, you can say what you're trying to say, and then you can be on your way. And I really like that. So it's just the whole, like, my view's gone from the joy of being out in the sea alone to also, and then kind of dreading reintegration into society, to actually looking forward to getting there and meeting these people and getting to know that area, but still in small groups. I like the small group part.
So I think that this trip has really, it's really increased our range of acceptability in our own lives, if that makes any sense. It's done a lot for me personally, and I think it's done a lot for Herby too. And so we're learning about ourselves and how much we can take, as much as we are about the ocean and the cultures and everything that we're experiencing outwardly. So I think that it's been an extremely interesting, almost social experiment to put two such polar opposites in the same situation and see how we adapt to that situation. And it's been pretty amazing to see the results, and I can't wait to continue to learn and grow individually and as a couple from this experience.
It really goes to show the return to the mean, because with the Myers-Briggs test, I used to test at about 99% introvert, and Maddie was about 98% extrovert. So we were way out there. And now, you know, she's come closer to the mean, and I have as well, where we both enjoy parts of both things. Like, I greatly enjoy the peace and solitude of being at sea, but I no longer dread meeting the people when we finally get to land. And Maddie doesn't dread being out at sea anymore, and she greatly enjoys being at land with all the people. But like we don't hate one part of it as much as we used to. Now we've come to learn to love both of it. And I think that's really made us grow as people.
So in conclusion, I think that we can say that nobody is stuck in their category that they've been placed in, either by a Myers-Briggs test or by themselves. You can always change and adapt to situations, and just because you become more comfortable with one side doesn't mean you're any less of an extrovert or an introvert. It just means that you are a more well-rounded person, and you are able to push yourself past what you thought your limit was. And I think that's a very human trait, and I don't think that there's as much of a distinction between extroverts and introverts as we think there is, because we can really we can challenge that, and amazing things can happen when you do. We would like to know whether you are an introvert or an extrovert, and how that has affected your daily life, whether that be on land or at sea. Please let us know in the comments down below. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more Rigging Doctor videos.